one note, last week we did talk about documentation, communication, and I will update on that. So status Orchard 1. Nothing new for the past month. Benedek must be somewhere on vacation, but he will come back soon. Orchard core. Orchard core, more things. So where is the dev branch? Dev branch is on the left. So what do we have on a dev branch? This was last week. Better defaults for search controller, and I think we demoed it. Then Dean is working on stuff. Jean-Thierry is working on stuff. Jean-Philippe is also doing on the dev branch. Add the ability to generate display text with a pattern. And I assume we haven't talked about it. So the idea is that now title part has some settings which are there. And how do you want to demo it today, Jean-Philippe? If you want. Okay, let's see if it works. So I will keep the surprise to see what it does. New options on the title part. Then Antoine upgraded all or updated all the themes, the Bootstrap, the StartBootstrap themes to the latest versions. That will also fix the security warnings on GitHub. TheComingSoonTheme, TheAgencyTheme, and TheBlogTheme. And the main change, because there is a change, is that all the static assets now are included in the themes. Look at that, FontAwesome was not previously. We were pointing only on the CDN version of FontAwesome. So now all the static assets are bundled in the theme, which means they can be served by the Orchard instance and not just the CDN. And Antoine made for each of the themes a resource manifest, which I will find eventually here, the first one. And this resource manifest defines all the assets or the groups of assets that each theme is using, like jQuery, jQuery Slim, Bootstrap, Bootstrap Bundle, and so on, by both defining the local version of the files and the CDN that we can use for this version of the file. And that allows these themes to reuse the settings that we set in the admin to select which version of the resources we want to use, either local or CDN, or based on the environment, meaning development will use local, release will use, or production will use CDN. These three options. And that's super important to be able to use that, local and or CDN. Because some users can't have access to the CDN, so they have to serve it, to serve their customers with their own services. So that's it, and there is the same thing for the other themes. Okay, so super nice improvement. The only drawback is that now the themes will bundle all these files, and we checked that the licensing constraints were not an issue. We StartBootstrap, as they said that, well, at least with FontAwesome, which was the only concern I had, because the files in FontAwesome, they say that it's fine to redistribute the free version because they all contain the licensing header, which is fine by them if we want to redistribute that. And then also the layouts have changed to use the name of the resource manifest. Okay, so it's saying, oh, vendor bootstrap. This is just to prevent it from naming it bootstrap that could conflict with the bootstrap versions we have in the main resource manifest and resource manager libraries, on the resources module, sorry. So this is isolated, and I assume there is a startup also. a new startup that will register the resources. Awesome work. Thank you, Antoine. And I assume also now the updates will be easier to do because it's more like what StartBootstrap is shipping.
Yes.
Jasmine, did you hear everything? Because you were late.
I just joined.
Okay. Do you understand what we did in the themes?
I know that you guys have updated the themes. But,
yes, Antoine. Well, okay, you'll watch the recording then. That's fine.
Yeah. Yes.
That's important. Then Isham fixing /enroll names. Because, so at first I thought it was a more global issue than just the slash, but it appears that the slash is the issue. We were generating a route with the name of the role inside, like /edit/ the role name. So if the role had a slash, it would be an issue. So I'm like, let's encode everything in the URL. The URL should be encoded, but it was actually encoded. It's just that the server, like either Kestrel or IIS, has a security setting that will prevent you from using URL encoded slashes in the URL in case it could be a vector attack, an attack vector, or bad encoding or trying. So they will try to prevent that from you. So if you want to use slash, just use slash. In the core string it's fine, but in the first segments it's not allowed. So now it's prevented here. Worst case, you can't edit your role. Well, that's not a security issue if it doesn't work, if we don't do that. Strip __ from fine placement. So Dean, I didn't fix this one, but the commit messages should be shorter, and GitHub will also tell you, or Git client will tell you that the messages should be shorter. And Linus Torvalds will shout at you if you use more than 80 chars or something like that. Fine placement when searching shape table descriptor to support text field edit option shape type. So there was an issue with the way shapes were discovered in some specific patterns. It will miss maybe some part of it. So now it's fixed. Text field edit options shape. Improving 404 page for the agency, because if you went on the 404 it would be super ugly, so he made a template for that. Add breadcrumbs zone, and you will see there are some changes that are reverted, but I didn't get the feedback from Antoine early enough. We should have changed it differently. We'll see. Add breadcrumbs zone, which is a new zone in the layout of the admin, so we can inject breadcrumbs. And anywhere that the breadcrumbs were used in some admin pages, they are now using this zone. Just below messages, example workflows are doing that. So there is a zone tag. So everything that is inside this zone tag will be injected inside this section here. Okay. Update test functional package to remove any security warning. Updating fluid because I fixed some bugs, like 3 of them. One related to white space that what's his name? Lucas Bart filed. There is one kind of space that was not handled and will fail at parsing. Another issue was with negative numbers. Wow, super bad issue. Just try to use, if you haven't updated to dev branch, just try to use a negative number, like -3. It will not understand it as -3, but as the identifier -3. So it will always be like null. If you do, so if the issue the user had was that he was trying to do a slice -3, 2, it was actually doing a slice 0, 2, because -3 was interpreted as -3, which was converted to 0. So that's fixed now, and another one, I don't remember which one. 3 bugs in this free update. Admin templates feature, I think I demoed it last week. merge. I think so because it's on my notes. Did I? I did, yeah. The ID, now it's merged, the idea being you can create admin templates. Well, templates, shape templates in the admin for the admin theme. Move title to navbar header. Then Antoine created a zone title and he moved it as I asked him inside the top of the page in the current navbar that we have, and also updated all the titles to be going in this zone. And then I saw it was half done because some titles were not done this way, and also it was not working correctly in mobile theme, and the size was not correct, and there was about to have a stream from John Galloway, so I reverted it. And then Antoine woke up and he told me, well, you should not have reverted it. You should just have moved the zone, the section here, back to where it was when they were rendered. So it will just work. And I didn't think about it, so I assume we might do that. So the titles will be where we decide they are, and then in the layout they can all be moved wherever the layout says. That will be even more flexible, so we can still do that and then work on where we actually want the title. I know Jasmin wants to remove this navbar, and then there won't be any issue with the navbar, but this is a discussion I reopened to talk about. But we can still use this title zone and then also decide in a parallel discussion where to put the title or the breadcrumbs. And if we need to remove that, this is independent. Did it make sense? Did I say anything wrong? Cool.
No, that's okay.
No? Oh, thank you.
Do you want me to make this PR?
You can redo
it again?
Redo it. Yeah, you can just copy, cherry pick the commit, and before committing it, you change the location of the title to put it where it was before this PR. So it doesn't change anything right now, but now we can decide where we want to put the title. It's fine. Unless it changes, yeah, it changes how we do all the things. Zone title. I assume that's fine. We can do that. But we need to ensure that all the titles are there, because I think some of them were missing. You did a lot. But I think some of them were missing, or maybe it was.
Well, I tried to make all of them, and you said it wasn't working on mobile devices, yep. But on small screen.
No, you will see it. Well, it appears, but it's completely. So the tail of the G, for instance, or Q, overflows the content zone. So
did you refresh your cache because I changed the CSS also?
Maybe that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can retry. Put a screenshot on mobile, but a bigger one, not just focusing on the title, the full screen. Yes.
Okay.
So this one will be recreated. Then update packages versions, which was reverted because one of these versions, I assume the SDK, test SDK, failed the build after that for the test package, for the test project. So we reverted it. I think I reverted it at the same time as Jean-Thierry made a PR for that, but I pushed directly on dev branch. You will see it here. So this one also might be recreated, but we need to follow up with the CI because it was failing the test package, the test project. Fixing a YouTube link because the URL was pointing to some time inside the video where the video completely makes sense, so it was weird to start in the middle. And this one was about what? I don't remember. Fix KeyNotFoundException reading stereotype. There could be a null ref at some point, and then not found, so he fixed it. Revert move title, we talked about it. Revert update packages, we talked about it. Adding PreviewPart, I will show a demo. Fixes Liquid TagHelpers mapping because of some naming convention. There will be some clashes with the dashes. Jean-Philippe still working on Cypress. We'll take it soon enough. Deployment source base, I don't know what it is. I think some refactoring to have a base class to do stuff that will prevent you from one line of code. Then documentation on emails, which is an enumeration of properties, and not sure where these properties are set, if it's just code or if it's configuration. If it's configuration, we need an example of the configuration where it is in an app settings files, because it's not obvious here. Examples like we have for media or Azure.
Yeah, I asked him to do it, and he did.
I think you did ask him to add the... Oh!
Yeah, but the first draft...
Okay, thank you. You asked it, and yeah, now that makes sense. Okay, now that makes sense. Thank you. Then going back there, refactoring to remove some dependency on some services. We'll see later on Thursday. Path string, that Chantier is working on the branch to use correctly path string. Decoupled CMS site, that will be a demo. Then lots of work on PRs, crazy. Too many PRs. I will see what's going on with that. Notify message to change the CSS. PR going on with sitemaps. We saw demo last week. Fix typo in include index hint. Typo in translation string missing something. Add input type URL. I assume there was something that was handled by this field but not displayed in the options. Or maybe it's just an LM value that is taken directly. Okay. And then Michael fixing the registration on off the permissions. Thank you. Cool. Demos. Who has demos? More demos. Jean-Philippe. And who else? Not quite ready. You need more time? I will do my demos. How can it be ready? There is like one drop down.
I don't have it.
I also want to show something else.
Okay. Oh, you can. Antoine, we'll talk about docs.
Yes.
Okay, donc you want, let's start with that then. Let's start with Antoine and the docs. So last week we talked about docs and how to make them better because Antoine cares and pushed to make progress on that. And we had a discussion about how to externalize the docs folder into its custom repo so the other languages could have also their custom repo, and I didn't like the fact that we had to create another repo just for docs because it would be 2 PRs to create docs and code when we do some new stuff. And after the meeting, I continued discussion with Antoine, and we agreed on moving everything to the docs folder, okay, that we have today. And for the other languages, we'll do separate repositories. And I think it's the best of everything, because this way we still have the default docs in English in the same repo, so we can do one PR that changes the docs and the code, one more features. And other languages will have their own repo, so we can manage the individual contributors for each language, and their PRs won't bother us in our main repo for the documentation. So I think that will be best. So Antoine started to work on that, and we'll share his screen to show what he did and why he did that. And I had so many discussions with Antoine this week about that, so many comments and feedback, sometimes completely opposite to the previous feedback, but that's fine.
So I reorganized the structure, and I also managed to select another MKDocs theme, which is called Material. So you can see what it looks like. Okay. And I built the corresponding branch. So this is just the material theme. And there is also the one with the new structure. So we still have the getting started and the guides main sections.
I don't know what you can see or what you're showing, but so far it has switched 5 times between Chrome and Skype.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can see.
Yes, okay. I'm staying on this one now to explain the new structure. So you have the getting started, in which you will have examples, as it is today, the guides to show other in-depth guides, and then you still have the CMS modules and the core modules. But we also want to make new main sections explaining how you can manage your content, customize your theme, localize your site with PO files or with content localization, and then how to manage the media, so resources or any image you want to add to your site. And then a section about navigation, so it will be about the menus, the admin menus, and other modules like taxonomies. Then how you can create your queries, define your indexing, and make search in the site. And maybe we could add GraphQL maybe inside it. And then how to give access to users and roles. So it will be about authentication with the different external modules, about OpenID if you want to enable some tokens, and finally it will be about workflows. So in each section we will have to add more content inside. I just
so far, okay.
Yes, I just made a little description
so
and add some links.
It changed from yesterday, or it changes every day. but it's better every day. So yeah. What I had suggested, I love half of it, just because the other half should be somewhere. So the CMS modules and the core modules, there are two things in the documentations. There is the reference documentation organized by module, like, okay, the content fields module, what does it have, what does it provide? The workflow module, what does it have, what does it provide? How does it work? How can I extend that? And so on. So this is really module oriented, and this is why you have the section CMS modules and core modules, so we can browse by module and also specifically the ones that are just doing CMS ones, or the ones that can be used in any app. And then there is documentation goal, which is more about how do I build modular apps and content management apps and theme my website and do all the things which you reflected with the second part of the talk, which is manage your content, customize your display, localize your site, which are super nice sections. I think that they will speak to everyone who wants to build a website. We might have more, but just that is awesome. What I want to say is that there are two ways to get to the information you want to learn, and they both make sense. And what I suggested you, I think last time, was to move the CMS modules, core modules, which are reference documentation, into another tab at the top. You remove the tabs that you had because there were too many, but we could have two of them, like the I don't know how to call this documentation, like general documentation, which is about learning how to use Orchard Core, and then module-specific documentation, which is more like reference documentation to extend the modules and how the modules are made and work, and in another tab. Or keep it there if we want under a module section, but just to be, yes, like this. This is exactly how I found about this idea, because this is the documentation about the material theme for MMKDocs, and that's what they do. On the left, you have documentation about how to use it and how it makes sense. And on the right, extensions, which is all the modules that you can have with this thing, that you can extend the tool with. And that could be the same thing. And yeah, so just an idea. We still have subsections on the, so maybe the left section is called Orchard Core, and the right section is called modules. And the first page explains what these two sections are. But I will expect most users will stay on the main section on the left, and then developers, or the ones who want to extend Orchard, will go on the right one, because they care about what modules exist and what they can extend in the modules. And we can still have a development section on the left. I mean on the main doc. But I love the conciseness of the topics you chose, because they make sense completely. Secure application, current search, navigate, handle media, theming, which you called customize display, localize your site, which will be split into view localization, data localization, content localization, all these things. That will be awesome, I think, because that's how people want to learn things. And you can do it serially, like sequentially. You can go from one page to the other, learning how to do everything. We have lots of content already in the README files that we can create, that we can use to build the left doc. But all these README files could already be like they were before on the right section, the right tab, the extensions tab, where we have all the modules listed with the current README. And then we can build the content on the left based on that content or with new content. Yeah, so I talk too much. Somebody talks wants to say something? Feedback and requests. Or you can say something, Antoine, if you have something to say.
Nothing more.
Okay, but yeah, it's good. Okay, yeah, the look also is better. The material design is more readable. Somehow I don't know what we are missing, but if you look at the mkdocs material, it looks even more readable than, maybe it's the font color or the font boldness, but if it looks thin on this one, and it looks bold and readable on the markdown, on the markdocs, the mkdocs one. You see? I don't know why. Is it me? Maybe I will look at two tabs, but I don't know. The contrast is
okay. Maybe because I chose an open sans font.
maybe as the font. Yeah, I don't know, but something is different, and I find the mkdocs one more readable. It looks like, you see, like the gray, the code, for instance. It's not. It's a detail, but I was wondering what was the difference between the documentation site and your site. Because the code, I can barely read it. There is not enough contrast. But on their site, it was better, I think. Maybe you see, I don't know. Maybe it's the font. You see, there is more contrast. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
But Soteris has a bad opinion, but that's fine. People can be wrong. You will change your mind, Soteris. You won't have a choice. Okay, good, awesome, thank you. So go on with that, and once you've done if you agree with the two tabs, and if everyone agrees, and you have split the modules and the left hook, we can ship it. Also, do you want to show the tabs, how they look nice, the Liquid/Razor tabs? Or yeah, this example, you were there on the mkdocs. That's
yes.
So the theme has a custom way of rendering the different languages, and we use that for Liquid/Razor, and you see with little tabs, super nice.
Yeah, and we can enable a few more extensions, like, for example, I enabled the TOC permalink. You see, you can just
yeah, that's nice.
On over, it appears
on every section.
Yeah, on every type.
Okay, I'm missing that on the current doc. Earlier today, I wanted to link to a specific section. I couldn't find link.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, thank you. Looks great. So do we call it modules or references, extensions like Matterdoc? I don't care. Modules is fine. Features. Yeah, features might guide people to think it's like the features of the app. No, it's module features. My preference so far is module. And the left one, the left tab, I don't know, Orchard Core.
Yeah. And one important section would be about the different paradigm of development. If you want to use a standard CMS, decoupled CMS, or
yeah. So that will be part of the getting started section. We need to be, people need to be able to start quickly and be production ready quickly. Like follow a tutorial or a guide in the getting started section that they can just follow and build something, and then they will follow up with all the content localization and things like that, how to extend their site. But yeah, we agree. They should see exactly, like with 3 guides, they want to build a blog, or they want to build a decoupled CMS, or they want to build the headless stuff. So yes, thank you for the transition to my first demo. Jean-Philippe, I will give you later. If we have time, might not have time, but that's fine. We'll do it next week. We'll see. So first demo I want to give, you can see my screen? No, just me. Michael. Okay, everyone can see. Just waiting for. Thank you. I'll give a demo first. I want to show that first. So, so if I go to documentation, Orchard Core here. So I created an article this weekend. So what happened? Friday, John Galloway tweeted that he wanted to do a live stream to redo the .NET Foundation site with Orchard Core in a decoupled mode. We had talked about it earlier with him. And so I followed the stream, and I had given him some hints on how to do that because he had never tried Orchard Core. And after the meeting, I saw all his pain points, and we talked already about, I had talked, it's funny because we talked about it last week, and my goal to create an article for people to start from something. Like, if you go in the documentation, you're like, well, I don't know how to use this CMS. I can't build any website. There is no way you can build a website with the doc we have, okay? There is doc about many things, but not how to build a website. Even this one is just, okay, you can set up, if I go to the guides, for instance, you can set up a CMS and a blog, but that's done. Okay, and how do I extend that? How do I create themes and everything? So I built this tutorial, or guide, whatever you want to call it, building a decoupled website with Razor pages. And the goal is to build a decoupled CMS using Razor pages. And you will create, by following this tutorial, a blog post content type and some blog post, and then render it in a Razor page. You will see alias, you will see the preview. It will reuse the default Visual Studio ASP.NET template. And then after that, which will take half an hour to follow, you will have a site running, and you will understand how to build types, how to create content, how to build custom pages, how to load the content from the custom page, and also use the preview. And I think that's a very good start to take off on Orchard Core. So just an overall brief about this thing. I just explained how to either use Visual Studio to create a new ASP.NET Core web application. Oh, there is a typo here. It's missing an underscore. Someone will fix it. No need for PR. Type or from the command line to create a new site, web app. Okay, this is the same template either from Visual Studio or the command line. If you are using VS Code, you want to start with that. And then when you run the app, this is what you have. Okay, this is ASP.NET Razor page Razor page application. That's what you have. Now, how to add Orchard? You just add this line to have automatic Razor precompilation and recompilation dynamic. Then a reference to Orchard Core. Okay, I took the NuGet package. Then you add Orchard CMS and add Orchard Core. Use Orchard Core. Then you start and you get a setup. So you set up your site. It tells you to use SQLite. It tells you everything. Or type that in the title, type that in the database. Now creating, I explain content modeling, what it is, content items and content type. How to create a blog post content type with screenshots. Everywhere you need to click and with screenshots, so it's really follow step by step. Markdown body and title. Then remove that to have the title at the top. Edit the markdown body properties to say that you want a WYSIWYG editor. You create a new content item. You create a new content item. Then you want to render the content item. So I say, okay, let's create a Razor page by creating a folder pages and a blog post file. And then I explain this is how you create a Razor page, and you can route stuff. And here, when you go on the page, you can see the thing, which is a static text. Then how to load actually the blog post is just inject this helper, and then this highlight is wrong. It should highlight somewhere, I think, else, or I think it should be a range. I must have missed something. So get content item by ID, and then we can display the display text only so far, you see, and this is how it works here. And I explained that whatever you put here should be the ID that is taken from the URL here for the blog post. Until then, follows up with a button that will display us the full JSON document later. We'll see. Accessing the other properties of a content item. So now I explain how to use DisplayText. Oh, this is a new thing. While doing the tutorial, I was seeing the gaps in the learning evolution, okay, the path, the learning path. And I saw that, okay, when you have a blog post content item, you have a display text because there is intelligence. But how do you know that you have access to the markdown body part dot body? The dot markdown, sorry. So today what we will do is just do a toString of the dot content. But yet, how do you know you have a dot content? And then we will say JSON in the output, which is kind of ugly because we are using the output to debug it. It's kind of ugly. And Bertrand suggested me to use orchard.console log because we talked about it last week, and he said, okay, I saw the video, why don't you use the console log? And so as I suggested, I created an extension method on the orchard helper, console log any object, and that will display this object in the developer tools. That is in Chrome and the new Edge and the old Edge, okay? And also Firefox and everything. And in this case, we don't need to care about, because otherwise it will be a single line with all JSON and you can't read it. With that, you can drill into the hierarchy of the properties. Author, you can see the display text, but you can see a content, markdown body part, markdown, and the text. And this is how then users know that they can do blog post, content, markdown body part, markdown. And I keep it there because it doesn't matter with the output. It's just you should not do that in production. Maybe we could have if environment is prod don't call that, so we could keep the console log and only on development will have it. That would be interesting actually. And then you have access to all the properties. And then I explain how now you can get the markdown body. And by the way, there is an extension to render markdown if you want to render markdown. Then I explain how to change the ID with a slug. To do that, I show how you can add an alias part to, because it's very common in Decoupled CMS, to add an alias to represent a content item by a nicer identifier than the technical ID. Okay, and we want to use that also in the URL. Oh, just by leaving. Oh no, I was not on this page. Sorry, I was there. Sorry. Can everyone see? Good. I think so. So yes, so I use the alias part and I type new day. And then I change the code to say now it's not an ID, it's a slug. Let's call it slug. And we map it to slug. And then we will load by an alias. And the slug is called alias : slug. Okay, and now we can get a content item by the slug here, which means you can go to the blog post / new day with a nice slug and get the same result as before, but it's nicer than just a GUID here, or a unique identifier. And then I explain how to generate the slug automatically, because instead of typing it, you can go in the alias part and say content item.displayText pipe slugify. So we take the title and we create a slugified version of the title. And I explain how to regenerate it by just deleting the alias, publish it, and then you see the title now gets into the alias. And then when we go on the output, this is what we see. So super nice, keeping the theme of the website, rendering with the Razor page, super fast, you can add caching, super nice. Could we eventually have multiple alias generated? So we will need to change the alias part to have multiple aliases. What I don't like with this ID is that we should have a canonical URL for each content item, so that the content item has one URL. So at least if there was a default alias, fine, and then we could add more aliases. At the same time, I think you can add it as a named part maybe to have another one, but if you want to have n, then in the pattern we should be able to support multiple values. As long as the first one is a default, that will work. But ideally, you could also have a redirect part or something like that, that when you hit another alias, you will redirect it to the first one. We can talk about it. Yeah, so that's it. And then I show how to configure the preview feature, which I will show you here with later. because I'm set up for another thing first. So I will go back there. So I show how to use the preview feature, because when you click on preview, it's using the theme. There is no theme. It's a Decoupled CMS. There is no theme selected. So it will render it with the templates that we have in the default content template. But it's ugly. You see, this is what you see when you edit. At least you can see the live preview. It has always worked, even on Decoupled CMS. But the issue with Decoupled CMS from the users, what they said is that they want to use Decoupled CMS, but they want the preview, because the preview is super important for their users. And if they use Decoupled CMS, it wasn't working. So with Jean-Thierry, last week, we implemented that to support custom views for the Decoupled CMS with previews. To do that, and this is what I explained here, and I could have shown you, if you go, you add the preview part, to a content type, like blog post, and then you get pattern, which is in this case blog post / the alias part. So the URL of my blog post is blog post / the alias. So this is the pattern I'm setting in the preview, so that when we go in the preview mode, it will find that this content type has a preview part and will request the URL that we define in the preview settings for this content item. And then what happens is that instead of having the generic one, we are actually requesting the one that the user developed for this content item. And you have the full fidelity rendering of the preview using your custom razor page on the front end with all the front end assets. And this content item, what the magic is that it's not saved in a database, but this razor page wants to load it from the database. Okay? And how does it work? It should not work. Should it work? I'm confused. It works, but I have to double check something. So how the session is by, let me think, the session is by ID, we get to get document by, yeah, it works for alias, it works for ID, yeah, because the trick is that we have a local cache per request of the content items. We just hijack that to set the content item that we know we will have to render without going for a database. So this page, when it loads it from memory, even though it thinks it will ask for a database, but it works only with the calls that will go on this current content item by alias or by content item ID, which is what you want to do on a single element like this. And that's the end of the demo. And then you see here, you change your code, and so at that point, people are confident that they can create, well, they have learned that they can create new sites, decoupled, they can create their own views, they manage all the HTML, all the loading strategy, the caching and everything, and they can create content types, content items, they know about preview, and they have a site that, they have a good ramp to start a new website. They have seen all the things they need to know to continue by themselves to build the rest of their site, I think, using the standard SPA theming and using standard razor pages or controller views and everything. So that's the new tutorial. Good. It's on the docs. There is no link directly from here. I forgot to add one. There is only one link here. Okay, but as Antoine said, we should have this kind of things, like 3 of them on the first page of getting started. This is where you should start. This is one of them. Creating a modular app should be a second one. The samples we have already on the orchardcore.samples. That's what we should have. So people know where to start from, because that's what people are blocked right now on. Good. Questions? Comments? Great. So, second demo, new thing. And I teased you last week about, I don't know if you remember, I sent a message on Gitter to say I did something that should change many things. So what I did, let me run. So I did this sample, okay, and let me run Orchard in this case. So this is the dev branch, and what I did on this instance is set up GraphQL and OpenID, because my goal was to see how Michael is still here. Okay, please correct me if I say anything else. My goal was to actually implement the authentication from one service to the other, to the Orchard core, by using bearer tokens and OpenID. It has always been one of the goals of the OpenID module that you can use APIs from another service, and in my case a console application. So this one, I have to go on HTTPS. I think I will have to go on HTTPS because my cookie requires that. It works. So this one has OpenID module enabled. The two features I enabled are OpenID authentication server and token validation. And when you enable that, you go on settings. In the authorization server settings, what you need to do is to enable the client credentials flow. Client credentials flow is the way you allow another service to use bearer tokens to authenticate with this server. Okay, so if you want an external application to use APIs on these machines, that's what you want to do. And you check that, and then you create an application which will be the client you want to connect. And I created a name, a display name, and client ID, client secret. Okay, and you say here allow client credentials flow. And now with that, how you can use it, you can create a console app here, HTTP client, and I will show you how it works. So I create an HTTP client, and for the client flow, this is the documentation how to do that. You need to send a post with authorization basic and client ID, client secret with a comma separated, colon separated, and then content type that, and grant type client credentials. So this is what I'm doing. I'm doing a request on the /connect/token of my instance, okay, HTTPS, and then I create a basic header, authentication header, with the client ID, the client secret, which are my ID and secret, okay, grant type, content type, blah blah, and I send the request, and the response is a JSON document with an access token. And the access token property, and I will show you what's happening here. So I do play. Oh, something I forgot to mention is that the application I created, you will see it there. So the application I created, I associated it to one of the roles, like author, and then I allowed the GraphQL permission on this role. So this application that has the client ID and the client secret got this document. Let me show here. This document, you see token type bearer, access token expires in 1 hour. Okay, that's an API kind of token. 1 hour to execute my APIs. So access token, I have it. And now I have the access token here as part of the payload. I can use this token to send any request to my server as a bearer token. So here it's creating a new bearer token with the access token. And I'm pointing to the GraphQL endpoint with a query listing all the blog posts. So now with that, I can forget about the OpenID, whatever query I did earlier. I have the token, and I can use it to stamp my requests with this bearer access token, so that when I do the request here, you get the data like this, okay? So it requested a GraphQL with the bearer token, and it works now. Post 2, post 1. Well, just rendering on the console. Okay, so it works. So this is how you do client credentials flow to authenticate your console apps or other apps that will require a client ID, client secret. And yeah, so that's the first step. But why did I do that? It's because I wanted to see if we could generate a static site. So what I did I used Statiq, which is a new name of Wyam, the static site generator in .NET that uses Razor by default. And I did some module extensions to Wyam, to Statiq, to be able to query with GraphQL, because there is nothing right now that I found out that could do that. And also template using Liquid, because they don't have it either. So what I did is I created a method called client credential authenticate that takes the endpoint of the OpenID endpoint, well, the OpenID endpoint for client credentials, the client ID, the client secret. It's doing the same thing as in my console application, but it will here say, oh, inject client ID, inject client secret over HTTPS, and what you get is the access token. So here, oops, program here. When I do that, I call it to have my token, and now I can reuse this token to do as many calls as I want on the GraphQL endpoint. So I modeled a GraphQL query, blog post, DisplayText, Markdown, HTML, and I say, so how does it work in Statiq? It's a pipeline, like a list of calls to transform documents. So the first call, so I will call something post. The first call is, as an input, take all the documents that the GraphQL query module will give you. The GraphQL query module will just take the GraphQL endpoint, the query to execute, and the bearer token to send. And in the end, every result that it gives me in the document blog post will, so this is one document and this is another document. So I just send JSON documents as the result of this input module. So this will be two JSON documents with this query. And then for each document, it will apply this transformation, which is set the destination. So give it a name. So go extract the DisplayText property of the JSON document, and this plus the HTML extension will be the file name. So I will take the DisplayText of my query as the file name to generate. And then with this document, which has a file name, apply the liquid filter based on this template. And this template is here and says the JSON document, take the DisplayText, inject, take the mark.body.html raw. Okay, I should do markdown conversion, but here it's the HTML property because GraphQL does that for me. It gives me the HTML of the markdown body, so that's super useful. And now if I run that, so Control F5, you will see the output of Statiq. So it says executing one pipeline called posts. This is the output directories. It says, okay, I finished the post input phase and I got two documents, my two posts from the GraphQL query. And it's processing and outputting, and in the end I get two documents which are in the folder here, output, and you will see the dates we are late, post1.html, post2.html, and if I open them, this is the result of my liquid. Okay, so now with that we can generate, you can go further than this demo and generate all the static sites you want based on GraphQL, a query from Orchard Core or anything, and use Liquid if you want, or Razor like is supported by default in Wyam/Statiq. You can also inject local static files if you want also. You see, like maybe your index might be an MD file. You will just have another pipeline that takes the MD files as a source. And yeah, you can go crazy and request the media, request any content from GraphQL to create a static site. That's it. Questions? Static sites, and I noticed, I'm like, some notes about static sites that I took when I wanted to know why should we do static sites, why should we support static sites. So today, if you do static sites, you're usually using Jekyll or Hugo. Jekyll for GitHub, Hugo which is in a Go tool, and what they will do, they will take MD files as a source, okay, from your GitHub, for instance. There is also Gatsby, Nuxt.js that will also support GraphQL and do stuff. But I think it's interesting to do static site with a CMS, not just MD files. Some arguments. So this might work on small technical teams, but when users are more than a handful or don't have technical knowledge, it's not possible anymore. Meaning, MD files are nice, but when you are alone managing your blog, that's fine. If you are two people 3 people and you want to manage rights and you have complex workflows, that doesn't work anymore, the MD files. Or if your users are not technical, they don't know how to generate your site or to use GitHub, so Git, that might be an issue. If you have assets management and you need to organize your files, your images, or add metadata to your images, you can't use GitHub. If you have rights management, like some users can change some parts of the site and some others parts, then you can't do that. You need a CMS. If you have editing workflows, like someone needs to validate something, same thing, or you have to go through PRs. If you need to edit maps, choose colors. Good luck with Git. If you have lots of content items, or you have an e-commerce with lots of products, you won't be able to use Git. If you need B2B communications, like you need to export all the data or to provide data like with GraphQL, well, you can't do that with just Statiq site. You will need also a CMS. So that's the idea. So someone could want to provide a deployment module based on Wyam. Exactly. We can do a deployment task that will execute a Wyam pipeline and then generate the site as a deployment package that we can push somewhere on FTP, on GitHub, or whatever. So it could be part of the CMS to generate a Statiq site, and whenever a content item is changed or whatever the workflow triggers, then you can push your Statiq site in any destination you want on your Statiq site hosting, like Azure Blob Storage. And this is .NET, so this could be modeled as part of a deployment plan, either dynamically or with some code to run. But here we can even provide a JavaScript API to do the thing here with some helpers. Just about what you can imagine you want to do. And I think that's it for the demos. Questions, comments? Jean-Philippe, you want to demo now? Okay, 2 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, all right. So just wanted to demo quickly the feature of adding a pattern to generate the title. So what you have to do, it's very simple. I did it to article as an example, added a name and subtitle text fields. Actually added the name, the subtitle was already there. And if you go in the settings, you see you have some options and a pattern. So this gets injected the content item. So you just use the properties on that item. And this gets called when the content item is updated. So either the title is editable, either it's generated and the input is disabled, or the input is hidden altogether. So if you choose this one, it won't regenerate when you have a value. If you choose either of these two, it always generates when you save. So for this demo, I'm going to use this one. And I have an article already. So if I edit it, I'm going to edit name of the, just name and subtitle. This, publish, and there you go. The title is generated.
And this came also from a user. I think who was it? I see his picture.
Yeah, same thing.
The Belgian guy.
The Cook? No.
No, not Jeremy Cook. It was Steven Spitz, I think.
Okay.
And so he had a content type without a title. He doesn't have a title property. He doesn't want people to enter the title. He just wanted the title to be a name, one of the fields.
Yeah.
I want my title to be one of the field names. And then you also wanted that, and you implemented that. So now you can say my title. Well, my title. The title part is just updating the display text. That's the idea. So
exactly.
Now the title represents the display text, and lets you edit the display text, and you can take it from a field. Super useful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And also reminder, don't use the property in the title part .title in the content, because we'll remove it at some point. Use a display text. The title part should not store anything, any state. It's just to edit the display text. Thank you.
Excellent.
Good. Okay, all done. Lots of demos. Any question, topics? Do you want to make static sites now? At least you know how to authenticate to GraphQL from another app if you need to. Great. Okay. Thanks everyone. See you on
Thank you.
Thursday or next Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye.